This is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we revisit the topics of substitution and BIDMAS, or order of operations. We've already looked at these topics, but we're revisiting them because we now know negative numbers. So we're going to do these topics using negative numbers. So let's start with substitution. Remember that from our algebra topic, if we have something like this, a plus 1, we call that an expression. It's an expression with two terms. A is a term and positive 1 is a term. So remember, substitution involves exchanging a pronumeral or letter for a number. And we do this to evaluate, give the value of the expression. So I could simply substitute, say, a equals 4. So if a equals 4, then a plus 1, all I do is exchange the a for 4. I get 4 plus 1, which is, of course, 5. So you know how to do that already, but let's look at an example involving negative numbers. So let's say I want a to be negative 3, and I want to find the value of a plus 1. It's the same thing that we just did. You exchange the pronumeral for the number. Here I'm just exchanging it for a negative. So the expression a plus 1 is now negative 3 plus 1. And you know how to do that? That's just negative 2. So these are easy examples. Let's look at something that's a little more complicated. I've given you the value of two pronumerals, x is minus 3 and y is minus 2. We're going to go through and evaluate these four expressions. A little bit harder since they're involving complicated expressions and also negatives. So let's look at the first one. So we know that 2x means 2 times x. So if x is minus 3, this is just 2 times minus 3. And I'm sure you remember that if you multiply a positive by a negative, you get a negative. So the answer there is minus 6. So let's look at the second one, x squared. Now this is important. If you're putting this on your calculator, it needs to be in brackets. Whenever you square a negative number, the answer is positive. So x squared is actually positive 9. Because remember, squaring means timesing something by itself. And if you times a negative by itself, a negative times a negative, you get a positive. So make sure you don't put it in your calculator like this, because what your calculator will do is it'll do the 3 squared first and then stick a minus in front and you'll get minus 9. That's actually wrong. So whenever you're substituting a negative into your calculator, it's a good idea to use brackets. Now we could have done that in the first one as well. This will just make sure there's no mistakes. So let's use brackets in the next one. So we have x minus y. So we have x minus y. So you should note here there is a minus next to another minus, and together they make a plus. So this is minus 3 plus 2, which is minus 1. So let's look at the next one. So of course we have to do the brackets first. So we'll do what's in the brackets first. So it will be 4 times, so y, minus 2 times x. So we already figured out that 2 times x was minus 6. So this is minus 2 minus minus 6 in the brackets. And of course, if you have two negatives next to each other, it makes a positive. So this is 4 times minus 2 plus 6 is positive 4. So the answer is positive 16. How easy was that? And then we're done. All right, let's now look at BIDMAS, the order of operations. Please pause and copy this down if you need. Remember, BIDMAS is this acronym here: brackets, indices, which means powers, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. It tells you the order in which you must perform operations when there are multiple operations. Remember also that division and multiplication are kind of like the same rank, so you do whichever occurs first from left to right, and similarly for addition and subtraction. Just because addition is listed higher, it doesn't mean you always do the addition first. Because addition and subtraction are essentially the same, they have the same rank. You do whichever occurs first from left to right. So why are we going over this again? Well, now we're going to do problems involving negative numbers. And it turns out the order of operations are exactly the same when negative numbers are involved. Let's start off with an easy example. So we'll start with this example in yellow, -2 plus 3 times -4. So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on setting out correctly, and we're going to do this without a calculator. So looking at the operations there, it might get a little confusing, but this here just sort of means -4 and -2. We're not really performing an operation here. So the first operation we perform is the times, because multiplication is higher than this addition. So, working down the page, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the -2 alone. We're just going to do this multiplication. So, 3 times -4 is actually -12. So, we've got -2 plus, this hasn't changed, -12. And hopefully you remember that a plus and a minus together makes a minus. So this is -2 minus 12, which is -14. So this is what I mean by working down the page. We've got equal signs underneath each other, but more importantly, every time we're using an equal sign, it equals the line above. What people will do in this situation, they'll take the same question and they'll say something like this. So they'll do the multiplication correctly, but this is not right. -2 plus 3 times -4 doesn't equal -12. Even if you then put stuff underneath, equals, -14. They'll write something like this. -12 doesn't equal -14. You have to make sure when you're using equal signs that it actually equals the other thing. This is one of my pet peeves. All right, let's look at a more complicated example. 27 divided by -3 plus 12 in brackets. So we do whichever comes in the brackets first. So this will be equal to 27 divided by, now -3 plus 12 is +9. So this is just 27 divided 9, which is 3. Once again, note, I'm working down the page. Let's look at an even harder example now. So let's look at this example here. So once again, we have brackets and we need to do this first. So let's first look in the brackets. Well, we have a couple of operations. We're subtracting and we're also raising to a power. That's what we mean by index. So 8 minus -4 squared. Well, -4 squared is actually +16. So this is 8 minus +16. Now, I'm not changing any of the other things here. I'm leaving them exactly as they are. So for the next line, I go 8 minus 16, which is -8, divided by -4, and then I have -63 divide -7. So what I have here are just some subtractions and divisions. So I want to do this division and this division first. It's okay to sort of do them at the same time. -8 divided by -4 is +2. So we've got 2 minus. Now 63 divided by -7 is -9. So we've actually got 2 minus -9. So just this part here is equal to -9. So, of course, that's the same as 2 plus 9, which is +11. So you can use your calculator to check, but make sure you can do these without a calculator. So if you watch this video, the first 3 people in my class to come up and say soccer is better than AFL and reference this video, I'll give you a caramello koala. Thank you so much for watching this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.